You know what the hardest thing to do in this world is? To stay locked in on you when everybody else is trying to pull your attention away. We live in a time where comparison is the new addiction. Everybody's scrolling, watching, measuring their worth against someone else's highlight reel. But obsession with others is the fastest way to kill your own greatness. When I say be obsessed with yourself, I'm not talking about ego. I'm talking about alignment, being so dedicated to your vision, your craft, your growth, that you don't have time to be distracted by noise. You can't build your empire while watching somebody else's blueprint. So this ain't about arrogance, it's about purpose. And today, I want to walk you through 5 truths that can change how you see yourself, how you move, and how you win. Protect your energy like it's gold, because that's exactly what it is. The most valuable, unrenewable resource you've got. Every single morning you wake up with a certain amount of it in your tank. Not money, not time, not even talent can replace that. Energy is the foundation of everything you build. And yet most people spend it like they've got an endless supply, gossiping, scrolling through their phones, comparing, criticizing, chasing validation from people who don't even matter. They let their focus scatter into 1,000 tiny pieces until there's nothing left for the vision that could change their lives. You ever wake up one morning feeling ready to conquer the world, but by noon you're drained and can't even explain why? It's not because life got harder, it's because your energy got hijacked. Maybe it was that argument you didn't need to have. Maybe it was that negative person who always finds something wrong. Maybe it was just 1 hour too long on social media looking at people pretending to be happy. That's energy theft. And the moment you start treating your energy like something sacred, you'll notice how fast your peace returns, how much clearer your mind becomes, how loud your purpose sounds. The people who rise to greatness, the ones we look up to, the ones who build legacies, they all understand this truth. They move quietly, not because they're hiding, but because they're focused. They don't need to announce every step. They know that talking drains energy, but action multiplies it. There's a reason silence and solitude are common traits among the disciplined. When you learn to be comfortable alone, you start to hear the voice that matters most, your own. I remember a time when I was surrounded by noise. People calling, talking, asking, demanding. Everybody wanted a piece of something I hadn't even built yet. And there were days I didn't answer my phone, not because I didn't care, but because I did. I cared too much about my purpose to let distractions rob me of it. You see, every yes you give to something meaningless is a no to something powerful. Every time you feed chaos, you starve clarity. There's an old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, but most people keep trying anyway. They give and give and give until there's nothing left for themselves. They think self-care is selfish, but it's not. It's strategic, because when your mind is calm, your body is rested, and your energy is aligned, you become unstoppable. You attract better people, you make better decisions, you move with purpose, not pressure. Think about it. When you're tired, when your spirit is low, even small problems look huge. But when your energy is right, even the biggest mountain looks like a challenge you're ready to climb. That's why protecting your energy isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. It's about choosing who and what gets access to your space. There are people out there who thrive on chaos. They need drama to feel alive. But you can't build a dream in that storm. You can't manifest peace if you keep walking into noise. Sometimes you have to step back, not out of pride, but out of preservation. Step back from people who drain you. Step back from environments that lower your frequency. Step back from habits that steal your strength, because your energy decides your direction. Look at any successful person, any visionary who built something from the ground up. They didn't get there by saying yes to everything. They said no to 99 things so they could say yes to the one that mattered. They invested in themselves like it was a full-time job. That's what protecting your energy looks like, treating your purpose like a business that deserves respect. It's like compounding interest. When you put your energy into growth, discipline, and consistency, it multiplies. You might not see it right away, but over time, it stacks. That 1 hour of reading a book instead of scrolling, it compounds. That workout instead of staying in bed, it compounds. That quiet morning spent visualizing your goals instead of complaining about your circumstances, it compounds. Before you know it, you've built momentum that no one can take away. But if you waste that same energy on gossip, on negativity, on what other people are doing, you're not just standing still, you're going backward. Every distraction you entertain delays your destiny. Every time you chase validation, you trade your power for approval. The world will always have noise. The test is whether you can hear your own voice through it. Let me tell you something, not everyone will understand your silence. They'll call it arrogance or distance or coldness, but that's because they're addicted to distraction. They don't know what focus feels like. Don't apologize for wanting peace. Don't explain your need for quiet. The right people will respect your boundaries, and the wrong ones will expose themselves when you set them. The day you decide to protect your energy, you'll start losing people, but you'll gain yourself. You'll lose conversations that don't matter, but you'll find clarity that does. You'll lose the habit of proving your worth, and instead you'll start living it. You can't attract elevation if you're always entertaining chaos. Energy attracts energy. If you vibrate with peace, you'll find peace. If you vibrate with purpose, you'll find opportunity. But if you vibrate with noise, all you'll ever hear is confusion. That's why I learned to move differently. I stopped responding to every message, every opinion, every comment. I started asking myself, does this feed my vision or drain it? Does it bring me closer to peace or closer to pain? If it wasn't building me, it was breaking me. There's power in protecting your energy because it shifts how you value your time. Time is limited, but energy decides what that time becomes. You can have 24 hours and still feel like you accomplished nothing if your energy was scattered. Or you can have 6 focus hours and feel like you changed your life. That's the difference between living and existing. So learn to walk away from things that don't serve your spirit. Not every argument needs your reply. Not every event needs your presence. Not every comment deserves your response. You're not running from life, you're refining it. You're creating space for what truly matters. Because at the end of the day, your energy is the soil of your success. Whatever you plant there, thoughts, habits, emotions, it will grow. Feed it with gratitude and you'll grow peace. Feed it with focus and you'll grow progress. But feed it with negativity and you'll grow regret. So when you wake up tomorrow, take a moment before you move. Feel that spark inside you. That's your goal. That's your power. Decide who gets access to it. Decide where it goes. Because every decision, every relationship, every habit either spins it or multiplies it. And when you learn to invest it wisely, that's when life starts compounding in your favor. Motivation fades. That rush of inspiration you feel after watching a speech or reading a quote is like a spark. It burns bright for a moment, but if you don't feed it, it dies out. That's why you can't build a life, a dream, or a legacy on motivation alone. It's temporary fuel. Discipline, though, that's the fire that never goes out. It's what carries you through when that excitement is gone, when nobody's watching, when the world goes quiet, and all that's left is you and your will. Everybody wants success until they realize what success really demands. People say they want greatness, but greatness doesn't show up in a moment. It's built in 1,000 small, unseen actions. You can't be a master of anything by doing it when you feel like it. Feelings are fickle. One day you're fired up, the next day you're tired, discouraged, or distracted. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it just gets the job done. It is the quiet promise you make to yourself when no one else is around. You ever notice how easy it is to be motivated when things are going right? The bills are paid, the weather's good, people are cheering you on, but life doesn't stay that way. There will be mornings when you wake up heavy, when your dreams feel far away, when you question if the struggle was even worth it. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is the voice that says, get up anyway. It's that inner push that reminds you why you started. Think about the athletes, the artists, the builders of this world, the ones who changed the game. They didn't wait for motivation. They trained when it hurt, practiced when they were tired, and studied when everyone else was asleep. Kobe Bryant didn't wait for the cameras to roll before he worked on his craft. He was already in the gym long before anyone else arrived. That's not talent. That's discipline. He built his greatness in the quiet hours long before the world called him great. The truth is, discipline is not glamorous, it's not loud, it's repetition, sacrifice, and consistency. It's showing up to do the same thing again and again until excellence becomes your default. And that's why so many people don't make it, because discipline asks you to be uncomfortable. It demands patience. It asks you to trade the pleasure of now for the promise of later. Motivation says, I'll start when I feel ready. Discipline says, I'll start now and I'll figure it out along the way. Motivation gives you permission to quit when it's hard. Discipline gives you no choice but to keep going. Motivation is like the wind. It changes direction all the time. But discipline is the anchor that keeps your ship steady through every storm. You see, the people who reach the top, they aren't the most talented. They're the ones who stayed when others walked away. They're the ones who treated every day like an opportunity to sharpen their edge. I've seen brilliant people fail because they waited for the right move to move. And I've seen ordinary people rise because they worked while everyone else slept. You've got to understand, your mind will always try to protect you from discomfort. It'll whisper, take a break, you deserve to rest, do it later. But that's the same voice that kills dreams. Discipline isn't about punishing yourself. It's about proving to your mind who's in control. It's standing tall in front of every excuse and saying, not today. When you build discipline, you build freedom. You don't rely on moods, people, or circumstances to move forward. You create momentum on your own. It's like building muscle. At first, it hurts. Every rep feels heavy, but with time, it becomes natural. The same with discipline. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. One day, you'll wake up and realize you don't need motivation anymore. You've become the kind of person who just does the work. Look around, the world is full of people with dreams, ideas, plans, but very few ever turn them into reality. Why? Because dreaming is easy, doing is hard, talking is easy, showing up day after day when nobody's clapping, that's hard. But that's the path of those who build something real. That's the difference between the dreamers and the doers. And met people who say, I'm just waiting for the right time. Let me tell you something, the right time will never come. There will always be noise, obstacles, fears. Discipline is what makes you move anyway. It teaches you to dance in the rain, to build when others are resting, to stay hungry even when you've already eaten. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Sometimes discipline looks like saying no. No to distractions, no to the easy way, no to the comfort that keeps you small. You can't chase your destiny and hold on to your excuses at the same time. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you say yes to your growth. Discipline is also love. Love for your future self. Because when you're disciplined, you're making sacrifices today so that version of you 5 years from now can live free. You're paying the price up front so you can reap the rewards later. And it's not always fun. It's lonely sometimes. But that's where transformation happens, in the quiet spaces when nobody believes in you yet. When all you've got is a vision and the will to see it through. You know what's funny? People will see you shining later and call you lucky. They'll say you had it easy. They won't see the 4 a.m. mornings, the nights you stayed in while others went out, the times you pushed yourself when nobody cared. But that's okay. You don't need their recognition. The work will speak for itself. Discipline builds character. It teaches you resilience. It reminds you that success isn't about what you do once. It's about what you do consistently. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It needs watering, sunlight, patience. You can't rush growth. But if you keep showing up, even when you don't see results, one day you'll look up and realize you become everything you once dreamed of. The truth is, motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Discipline turns that spark into a flame that can't be put out. And once you build it, once you taste that power, that quiet strength of consistency, you'll never go back. Because you'll understand that success isn't about luck or timing. It's about showing up again and again until your actions become who you are. So when the excitement fades, when the applause stops, when the world gets quiet and it's just you and the work, that's when it counts. That's where legends are made. You don't need to be motivated. You just need to be committed. Because discipline doesn't promise you an easy life, but it does promise you a meaningful one. And that right there is where greatness begins. Comparison kills creativity. It kills joy. It kills peace. Every time you measure your journey against somebody else's, you take your eyes off your own lane. You slow yourself down trying to catch up to an illusion. You start doubting your gifts, questioning your timing, and shrinking your light to match someone else's highlight reel. You see, we live in a time where everyone's life is on display, polished, filtered, perfected. But what you see on that screen is not real life. It's a moment, it's a snapshot. It's the surface of a story that took years to write. You might see someone living the life you want, but you don't see the 10,000 hours they put in when no one was watching. You don't see the nights they went to bed crying, the mornings they woke up unsure, the sacrifices they made when it wasn't glamorous. You see the crown, but not the cost. The truth is, comparison robs you of momentum. It steals the joy from the process. It makes you forget that growth is supposed to be gradual, not instant. Every seed takes time to break through the soil. Every storm tests the roots before the flower blooms. But if you're staring at someone else's garden, you'll miss your own season of growth. You'll start pulling up your seed before it even has a chance to sprout, just because it doesn't look like theirs yet. I've seen people give up too soon because they believed they were behind. They looked at someone else's success and said, maybe I'm not meant for this. But you are. You're just not there yet. There's power in that word yet. You're not late. You're not losing. You're in process. You're being shaped, refined, tested for what's coming. Everybody's timeline is different. Some people rise fast and others rise steady. But the pace doesn't matter if you're still moving forward. Look around at the people who made history. None of them had the same path. Jeff Bezos didn't start Amazon until his 30s. Morgan Freeman didn't land his first big movie role until his 50s. Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC until he was in his 60s. If any of them had looked around and said, I'm too late, the world would have lost something remarkable. Greatness doesn't expire. Destiny doesn't come with an age limit. You can still bloom, even if it's later than you expected. But we live in a culture that worships speed. We celebrate overnight success and forget about lifelong discipline. We see someone go viral and we think success is supposed to be instant. But anything that grows too fast breaks just as fast. The slow builders, the ones who grind in silence, they're the ones who last. So don't envy the quick rise. Build for the long haul. Build something that can weather the storm, something rooted deep, because the foundation you're laying now will hold up everything that comes later. When you compare, you drain your energy trying to copy someone else's rhythm. You start walking like them, talking like them, dressing like them, and in the process, you lose yourself. You start editing your own story to fit their script. But no one can do you like you. That's your superpower. You were given a voice, a vision, and a journey that no one else can replicate. And the moment you start honoring that instead of comparing it, your whole life shifts. There was a time I used to look around and wonder why certain doors open for others faster than they did for me. It felt unfair, like maybe I missed my moment. But what I didn't see then was that my delay was actually preparation. I wasn't ready for those doors yet. I needed to learn patience, humility, focus. Sometimes what looks like a setback is actually a setup for sustainability. If success comes before you're built to carry it, it crushes you. Timing is protection. So instead of asking, why not me, start asking, what's my next move? Because that question puts the power back in your hands. Why not me keeps you stuck in self-pity, waiting for answers that won't come. But what's my next move makes you act. It shifts your focus from envy to evolution. It turns jealousy into strategy. It says, I'm not competing with them. I'm competing with who I was yesterday. You can't run a race looking sideways. You'll stumble every time. You have to keep your eyes on your own path. Every step, every failure, every small win is all part of your preparation. You don't see the whole picture yet, but trust me, it's forming. The setbacks, the waiting seasons, the moments you felt invisible, they're not wasted. They're building the strength you need to sustain what's coming. Think about nature. A tree doesn't look at the one beside it and rush to grow faster. It just takes in sunlight, drinks its water, and grows at its own pace. And when the season is right, it blooms, strong, tall, unshaken. That's how your life works too. Your timing, your story, your growth, it's yours. You just have to keep watering your own roots. And then I get it, it's hard not to compare, especially when you're putting in the work and not seeing results. When someone else gets the job, the award, the recognition, and you're still grinding in the dark. But remember, the dark is where diamonds are made. Pressure builds strength. Delay builds depth. The process is doing something for you, even if you can't see it right now. The worst thing you can do is stop because you think you're behind. You're not behind, you're in training. Life is sculpting you, chiseling away everything that doesn't belong in your future. The more you focus on others, the more distracted you become from your own growth. But when you become obsessed with improving yourself, that's when you win. Because the only real competition is between who you are and who you're becoming. You have to trust your process even when it doesn't make sense. You have to believe that every hour, every setback, every lonely night is working for something bigger. Every person has their own timeline, and yours is unfolding exactly as it should. The storm you're facing now might be the very thing preparing you to handle the blessings waiting ahead. So stop rushing your journey. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. They had to write those first 9 chapters you didn't see. They had to fail, start over, and fight doubt just like you. You're not behind. You're just earlier in the story. And one day somebody will look at you and wonder how you did it so effortlessly. They'll see your chapter 10 and think it happened overnight, but you'll know it took discipline, patience, and a decision to stay in your lane. The truth is, peace comes when you realize your only job is to grow, not to outshine, not to outpace, but to evolve. You can't rush the masterpiece, you just keep painting. You can't force the harvest, you just keep planting. Because when you do that, when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, life has a funny way of meeting you halfway. The doors open, the timing aligns, the blessings flow. You don't have to compete. You don't have to compare. You just have to keep moving. One page, one chapter, one step at a time. Because your story is still being written, and it's going to be a good one. Pain has a way of visiting everyone. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't check your schedule. It shows up uninvited, unexpected, and it demands your attention. Every setback, every heartbreak, every loss, every disappointment, it carries a message. It's data. It's showing you something you need to know. It's teaching you what doesn't work so you can find what does. Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. The question is not whether you'll face it, the question is what you'll do with it once it arrives. You see, pain can destroy you or it can design you. It all depends on how you respond. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid it, pretending it isn't there, or numbing it away with distractions. But the people who rise, the ones who grow, who transform, who lead, they don't run from pain. They study it. They sit with it. They ask it questions, because inside that hurt is wisdom. Inside that loss is direction. Inside that breaking point is the blueprint for something greater. You ever notice how some of the most powerful people come from the hardest struggles? It's not a coincidence. It's because pain taught them what peace could never teach. Pain has a way of forcing you to look deeper. It burns away what's fake, what's shallow, what doesn't serve you anymore. It's uncomfortable, but it's also cleansing. It strips you down to the truth of who you are and what you're made of. I've seen people lose everything, their money, their homes, their relationships, their peace, and somehow come back stronger, wiser, more focused than before, not because the pain was easy, but because they refused to let it be wasted. They learned how to make pain productive. They didn't just go through it, they grew through it. And that's the difference between those who crumble and those who rise. Pain visits everyone, but not everyone turns it into power. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you most. Were they the easy ones, the times when everything went your way? Probably not. Growth rarely comes from comfort. It comes from chaos. From the times you didn't know how you'd make it, from the nights you cry yourself to sleep, wondering if things would ever change. And then, one day, something shifted. You got up, you moved forward, you found a way. That was strength being built in real time. That was pain giving birth to purpose. I remember someone once saying, your scars are not a sign of weakness. They're proof you survived something that tried to break you, that hit me, because scars tell stories. They say, I've been through something, but I'm still here. They're not something to hide. They're something to honor. Every scar means you healed. Every scar means you endured. And sometimes those scars become the very thing that allows you to help someone else heal. Pain can be the greatest teacher if you let it. It teaches humility. It reminds you that you're human. It teaches compassion, because when you suffered, you understand what someone else is going through. It teaches gratitude, because after you've lost something, you finally see the value in what remains. It teaches focus, because pain has a way of cutting out the noise. It puts your priorities in order. When life knocks you down, the easy thing to do is to stay there, to tell yourself it's not worth getting up again, to let the bitterness set in. But the stronger thing to do, the braver thing, is to rise, to say, all right, this hurt me, but it won't define me. Every time you get back up, you're rewriting your story. Every time you turn pain into progress, you're proving to yourself that nothing can stop you if you keep moving. Pain also has a way of introducing you to yourself. You don't really know who you are until you've been tested. Until life strips away the applause, the comfort, the certainty, and leaves you with just your will. That's when you meet your real self, the one who doesn't quit, the one who fights back, the one who refuses to be broken. And here's the truth, pain will come again. Life won't stop testing you just because you passed the last test. But each time it does, you'll be more prepared. You'll have your blueprint. You'll know how to navigate it. Because once you've turned pain into purpose, you never see it the same way again. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Every great builder studies the cracks in their foundation before they rebuild. They don't ignore them. They examine them to understand what went wrong. That's what you have to do with your life. When something breaks, don't rush to cover it up. Study it. Learn from it. Pain points you toward the weak spots, the areas that need reinforcement. Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe it's your circle. Maybe it's your habits. The pain shows you where to strengthen the structure. That's your blueprint. Some people think that avoiding pain keeps them safe, but avoiding pain only keeps you stuck. Growth hurts, healing hurts, but staying the same hurts worse. You've got to choose your pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, the pain that builds you or the pain that buries you. Every loss, every disappointment, every failure can become a brick in your foundation if you place it right. I've seen people who use their pain to build something that outlived them. People who turn heartbreak into art. People who turn rejection into drive. People who took failure and turned it into faith. That's the beauty of it. Pain doesn't have to be the end of your story. It could be the beginning of a new one. The most powerful transformations often come from the deepest wounds. The woman who starts a shelter because she once had nowhere to go. The man who mentors youth because he knows what it's like to grow up without guidance. The entrepreneur who builds a business because they were tired of being told no. They took what hurt them and made it help others. That's how you make pain sacred. When you start seeing pain not as punishment but as purpose, you start resenting it, you start respecting it. You start asking, how can I use this? Instead of why me? You stop letting pain break you and start letting it build you. That's where wisdom comes from. That's where strength comes from. That's how you turn wounds into weapons. So whatever you've been through, whatever tried to break you, don't bury it. Build with it. Let every loss become a lesson. Let every scar remind you what you've overcome. Let every tear water the ground you'll rise from. Because pain, when used right, becomes a blueprint for greatness. It's the proof that you've lived, that you've fought, that you've evolved. And one day when you look back, you'll realize the moments that hurt you the most were the very ones that shaped you the best. Because pain, my friend, is not the end of your story. It's the architect of your beginning. No one's coming to save you. Not an investor, not a mentor, not a friend, not a miracle. It's on you. And once you really understand that, not just hear it, but feel it, something in you changes. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for the timing to be perfect. You stop looking around for someone to give you a chance because you realize you are the chance. That's when you start building. That's when you start moving. Because deep down, you know that the only person who can truly change your life is the one staring back at you in the mirror. When you bet on yourself, everything shifts. Your posture changes. Your mindset changes. You start walking like somebody who knows where they're going, even if you don't have all the answers yet. You start working with a different kind of fire, a quiet confidence that doesn't need applause to keep going. You begin to move like you already have the thing you're chasing, because belief creates momentum, and momentum creates results. The truth is, most people spend their whole lives waiting for the right opportunity, the right partner, the right sign, but the right time is now. Waiting keeps you safe, but it also keeps you stuck. Nothing moves until you do. You have to take the first step, even when it's shaky, even when the vision is blurry, because clarity doesn't come before the leap. It comes because of it. The world doesn't open its doors to people who hesitate. It opens them to those who bet on themselves, even when the odds aren't in their favor. When you bet on yourself, you invest differently. You stop wasting time and energy on things that drain you, and you start feeding what grows you. You put your money into learning, into improving, into staying consistent. You read more, you train more, you take care of your health, your mind, your spirit, because you know you can't build a kingdom with a shaky foundation. You become your own investor, your own motivator, your own boss. That's how you build something that can't be taken away, because it's not luck holding it up, it's discipline. I've seen people win not because they had more money or more connections, but because they had more faith. Not blind faith, working faith. The kind that says, I don't have everything I need right now, but I'll make it work. I've seen people turn nothing into something simply because they refused to quit. They were resourceful. They took what they had, a little skill, a little courage, a little vision, and they multiplied it. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They built their own constellation. You have to believe in your vision when no one else does. Because at first they won't. People will doubt you. They'll question you. They'll call you unrealistic. They'll tell you to be safe, to be practical, to take the easy route. But remember, they can't see what you see. They weren't giving your dream. They weren't giving your drive. So don't let their fear become your foundation. Don't let their limits define your potential. You have to back yourself like a sure thing. And I don't mean with ego. I mean with certainty, with work ethic, with preparation. Confidence without work is delusion. But when you've done the work, when you put in the hours, when you faced the rejection and kept moving, that's when you've earned the right to bet on yourself. Because now it's not just talk, it's evidence. It's a track record of resilience. The world doesn't reward wishers, it rewards workers. You can wish all day, but wishing won't move the needle. You can hope, you can pray, but faith without action is empty. You have to do. You have to wake up early when no one's watching. You have to make that call, send that email, study that craft. You have to push when you're tired and show up when it's hard. That's how you earn your blessings, not through luck, but through labor. There's something powerful that happens when you stop depending on others to believe in you and start believing in yourself. You become unstoppable, because then failure doesn't scare you anymore. Rejection doesn't break you. You realize every no just makes room for the right yes. You stop being afraid of falling because you've learned how to get back up. You stop looking for guarantees because you've learned how to create your own opportunities. When you bet on yourself, you take responsibility, not just for your success, but for your mistakes too. You own your choices. You stop blaming the world, the system, the circumstances. Because the moment you take full ownership, you take back your power. You can't control everything that happens, but you can control how you respond. And response is what builds resilience. There's a certain peace that comes from self-trust. It doesn't mean you think you're perfect. It means you know you'll keep going no matter what. You stop waiting for things to get easier because you get stronger. You stop asking for signs because you become one. You realize that life isn't about finding the right path. It's about walking the one you build step by step, brick by brick. You'll face moments when the road feels lonely, when you're putting in the work and nobody seems to notice, when the results aren't showing up yet. In those moments, remember, the process is planting seeds underground. Just because you can't see them growing doesn't mean they aren't. Keep watering them. Keep showing up. Consistency always pays off. Maybe not when you want it to, but always when you need it to. I've seen people lose everything and rebuild it from scratch, not because they had a safety net, but because they had themselves. That's the kind of security no one can take from you. When you bet on yourself, you become your own foundation. You learn to adapt, to pivot, to rebuild. You stop fearing uncertainty because you know you've got the tools to figure it out. That's freedom, not dependent on anyone else to define your worth or determine your future. You don't need to be the most talented or the smartest or the richest. You just need to be relentless. You need to keep believing when the world tells you to quit. You need to keep showing up when it doesn't make sense, because betting on yourself isn't about guarantees. It's about faith in motion. It's about trusting that every step, no matter how small, is moving you closer to something bigger. And one day, when it all comes together, when the doors open, when the dream becomes real, you'll know it wasn't luck. It was you. It was every long night, every early morning, every moment you chose yourself over fear, That's what betting on yourself looks like. Choosing believe over doubt, action over excuses, work over waiting. So if you're standing at the edge, wondering if you should take that risk, wondering if you should chase that dream, the answer is yes. Bet on yourself relentlessly, because when you do, the universe moves with you. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen easily, but it happens. And when it does, you'll look back and realize you were the miracle you were waiting for all along. So stop chasing validation. Stop watching what they're doing. Start building what you were born to create. Be obsessed with yourself, your growth, your peace, your purpose. Because the truth is, once you focus on becoming your best version, you don't need to compete. You just become undeniable.